Ramses II has gone down in history as one of the greatest pharaohs in ancient Egyptian history. Under his reign, Egypt underwent military and cultural advancements, and many of the temples and monuments he commissioned still stand today. He is often cited as the most powerful and celebrated pharaoh of the New Kingdom. So, what exactly did Ramses do to achieve these accolades? Keep watching as we take you through the life and reign of Ramses II. Ramses II's grandfather, Ramses I, founded the 19th dynasty of Egypt when he became the co-regent to the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty, Horemheb. Horemheb had been an advisor and military commander to the young king Tutankhamun and came to power after the short reign of Tutankhamun's successor, Ai. As Horemheb had no sons, he made Ramses his co-regent shortly before he died at the beginning of the 13th century BCE. Although Ramses was fairly advanced in years himself, his son Seti was in the prime of his life. Seti reigned from around 1290 BCE after his father had been in power for only 2 years, meaning that although Ramses was technically the first pharaoh of the 19th dynasty, it was Seti who truly founded the Ramesside dynasty. By the time Ramses II took the throne, his father had already increased the kingdom's prosperity. Seti had opened mines and quarries to increase the nation's wealth, and waged many successful wars against Palestine, southern Syria, and the Anatolian Hittites. However, his gains against the Hittites didn't last. Seti had given his son special status as regent before he ascended to the throne, and Ramses accompanied his father on military campaigns to gain military and kingly experience. Ramses was born to be a military king, ranking as captain in the army at the tender age of 10. Ramses II came to power when he was around 24 years old, during the late 1270s BCE. After a ceremonial visit to Thebes, one of his first acts was to begin building a new capital city called Pi-Ramesses. He used this city as a residence, and once completed, it became famous for its gardens, waters, and layout. 4 deities presided over its 4 quarters, with Amun in the west, Seth in the south, and Wadjet in the north. Interestingly, for the east, he chose the Syrian goddess of love and fertility, Astarte. Ramses chose to build his new city near the legendary city of Avaris, which gave the city instant prestige. Avaris was the capital city of the Hyksos, where Ahmose had ousted the foreign rulers with much pomp and propaganda in the 1500s BCE. Ahmose's victory at Avaris had gone down in Egyptian history as a great triumph. So, choosing to build the new capital in that area was good publicity, as well as a convenient base of operations for military campaigns in Asia. It seems that Seti's efforts to make his son a military man paid off, as Ramses' prowess as a soldier made him greatly admired by his subjects. However, how much of this was genuine military success and how much was clever propaganda remains unclear. One example of this inconsistency comes from the 4th year of his reign. The Hittites, probably testing the strength of the new king, took over the trading town of Kadesh in modern-day Syria. Since it was a valuable resource of Egypt's trade routes, Ramses led his forces to recapture the town. At Kadesh, misinformation about the location of the Hittites' forces led Ramses' troops into an ambush, from which they barely escaped before reinforcements arrived. On Ramses' return, he commissioned murals describing an incredible victory in which he had single-handedly defeated the Hittites after being abandoned by most of his soldiers. Yet carvings on a stela at Karnak, verified by an Akkadian clay tablet discovered in the early 20th century, tell a different story. These carvings are the earliest surviving text that shows a peace treaty. The treaty stipulates that both sides agreed not to invade each other's territories, that refugees would be extradited without retribution, and that both sides would give aid should the other be attacked. This treaty wasn't just beneficial for Ramses, as it allowed both the Hittites and the Egyptians to claim they had emerged victorious. Despite Karnak being a dubious success for Ramses, he demonstrated military might with his other campaigns. He was able to secure vital trade routes in Syria and Canaan and conducted successful operations against the Libyans and the Nubians. Ramses' reputation was that of a lover and fighter. He had over 200 wives and concubines and fathered around 100 children. However, he managed to outlive many of his offspring. Among his wives was the daughter of his new ally, the Hittite king, but his favorite wife was his first love, Nefertari. Nefertari Mermut, whose name means beautiful companion, has gone down in history as one of Egypt's most famous queens, thanks to Ramses' dedication to her. The couple wed before Ramses ascended to the throne, although Nefertari's exact lineage is unknown. When they married, it is believed that Nefertari was around 13 and Ramses was roughly 15. At least 4 sons and 2 daughters of Ramses were Nefertaris. It appears that their marriage was one of love in an age where strategic and diplomatic marriages were common. Ramses wrote her many love poems and referred to her as Sweet of Love, Bride of God, and Lady of Two Lands. There is much evidence that Nefertari took an active role in the leadership of Egypt. She was highly educated and could read and write in hieroglyphs. She aided her husband in acts of diplomacy and was greatly respected by the people of Egypt. In some depictions, she is represented as being of equal size to her husband, demonstrating her importance and standing. The pair shared 24 years together before Nefertari died. After she passed, Ramses commissioned a magnificent temple in her memory, a testament to his love and respect for her. Regardless of some creative accounting in terms of military prowess, Ramses was undoubtedly a successful ruler, and Egypt prospered under his reign. His economic successes are evidenced by the number of temples built during his time as pharaoh. Temple building was a mark of prosperity due to the time and resources it took to build them. Historians have long dispelled the myth that Egyptians exclusively used enslaved people for building projects. In general, builders were well looked after, fed, watered, and housed. Even considering the extraordinary length of Ramses' reign, around 66 years, the amount of construction that took place at this time suggests that Ramses II was one of the most notable and successful pharaohs in Egyptian history. Amongst his famous building projects were 2 temples built at Abu Simbel. During Ramses' reign, this was Egypt's frontier, and the imposing temples were built to face the neighboring country of Nubia. Built in the mid-1200s BCE, the temples were carved out of the mountainside and dedicated to worship Amun, Ra-Harakti, Ptah, and Ramses himself as a god incarnate. At the front of the temple, Ramses commissioned 4 colossal statues of himself, seated. Each statue is around 69 feet tall, and around his feet are smaller figures representing his children, his beloved wife Nefertari, and his mother, Watui. Inside, scenes depict Ramses' purported success at Karnak and Ramses with Nefertari making offerings to the sun gods. The temple is also a solar calendar of sorts, as it was built in such a way that on October 22nd and February 22nd, sunlight streams into the inner chambers and lights up seated statues inside. Of the 4 seated figures, the light only ever hits 3 of them. Another statue of Ramses himself, plus the Egyptian deities Amun and Ra-Harakti. The 4th statue of Ptah, the god of darkness, remains unlit. Historians speculate that the dates chosen for the illumination mark the beginning and end date of Ramses' reign. Abu Simbel's smaller temple is thought to have been built for Queen Nefertari, as it is fronted by the usual 4 statues of Ramses plus 2 of Nefertari. The temple sat on the west bank of the Nile for around 3,000 years. During the 1960s, the temples were taken down and reassembled on a higher hill due to a planned flooding due to the controversial Aswan High Dam. Among Ramses' myriads of building projects, he also oversaw the completion of the southern part of the hypostyle hall at Karnak and completed the temple at Abydos that his father had started. His building projects and carvings of his successes were all to bolster his image and standing in the eyes of his subjects. Ramses knew the importance of advertising, and his many colossal statues cemented his reputation as a god on earth. In 2017, archaeologists uncovered a 26-foot statue of what they believed to be Ramses submerged in the groundwater in Cairo. The statue was made out of quartzite and found near the ruins of Ramses' temple in what would then have been the city of Heliopolis. Ramses II ruled at the peak of imperial power in Egypt and lived to be a remarkable old age. Many believe that Ramses was in his late 80s or early 90s when he died, and he was buried in the Valley of the Kings. His mummy was discovered in 1881 and taken to the Cairo Museum, where it underwent many studies. The results showed he was tall, with a thin nose, thick lips, and a strong projecting jaw. Due to his advanced age, he was suffering from hardened arteries, arthritis, and dental issues at the time of his death. Ramses was succeeded by his son Merneptah, whose mother was Queen Isenofre. After Ramses' death, Egypt was forced to defend its territories established by Ramses, which it was able to do until the Sea Peoples began raiding in the Levant, pushing Egypt's influence back within its borders. Historians postulate whether Ramses' legacy was the downfall of his dynasty. Given the large number of children he had, Ramses' death led to rivalries, alliances, and political turmoil amongst his descendants. Challenges in succession fragmented the royal court, and therefore the royal elite's authority, leading to the eventual decline of the dynasty. Many biblical scholars believe that Ramses II was the pharaoh during the time of Moses. This belief is primarily based on circumstantial evidence mixed with a certain degree of historical context. While the Bible doesn't mention Ramses by name, it does include the city of Pi-Ramesses as one of the places where Israelites labored. While there are records of Semitic immigrant workers in Egypt, there is no archaeological evidence that they were enslaved, and there is no evidence or records of any plagues or mass exodus from the city. Given Ramses' penchant for good PR, this could be down to a historical cover-up, although many say this seems unlikely. Ramses was beloved by his people, who must have gone through a period of significant prosperity and peace during his reign, as evidenced by the relatively small number of internal uprisings. Even during the decline that followed his death, Egyptians remained affectionate toward their late great pharaoh, and it was an honor to be his descendant. How would you like to get a deeper understanding of history, impress your friends, and predict the future more accurately based on past events? If this sounds like something you might be into, then check out the brand new Captivating History Book Club by clicking the first link in the description. To learn more about Ramses II, check out our book, Ramses, A Captivating Guide to Ramses II and His Impact on the New Kingdom and Ancient Egypt. It's available as an ebook, paperback, and audiobook. Also, grab your free Mythology Bundle ebook while it's still available. All links are in the description. If you found the video captivating, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this.